So we back with some more news of the world, conspiracy theories, and unexplained mysteries. But before we get to the craziness, I need y'all to help me unplug some more people out of the Matrix. And you do that by hitting the like button, then putting hashtag unplugged in the comment section. All right? And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to it.
To host a screening at Bedminster of the important new film, Sound of Freedom, about the power of faith in overcoming evil, and in particular, the evil of child trafficking. Big problem. We had it down to the lowest number in many years just 4 years ago, and now it's gone through the roof. Even though the fake news media has tried to ignore it, Sound of Freedom has been a national sensation and a colossal success at the box office, really big numbers. Everyone should see it. This is a very important film and very important movie, and it's a very important documentary all wrapped up in one. It's really about an issue that has to be discussed. Under my leadership, I'm
waiting on my family. We all supposed to, I think we're going to get together today if possible to be able to watch it. So I'll keep y'all updated. That way I'll be able to give you a review of what I was able to take from the movie, minus what everybody's saying in Hollywood and different places. I like to give my own, you know what I mean? Make my own opinion about something based upon what I've seen.
More than any administration in history to combat human trafficking and to end modern-day slavery. In one of my first acts in office, I signed an executive order targeting transnational criminal organizations that traffic and exploit innocent people. I signed the Frederick Douglass Trafficking Victims Prevention and Protection Reauthorization Act, authorizing $430 million to fight sex and labor trafficking. I signed legislation to crack down on foreign countries who are not meeting standards for eliminating trafficking, of which there are many. I also signed into law the Abolish Human Trafficking Act, which strengthened programs supporting survivors and provided more resources for ending modern slavery. We do have modern slavery, if you can believe it. Additionally, I created the first ever White House position focused solely on combating human trafficking. And perhaps most importantly, we created the most secure border in U.S. history by far, dealing a major blow to the cartels and traffickers. We built hundreds of miles of wall. We renovated hundreds of miles of wall. We never had anything like it. And then I got Mexico free of charge to give us 28,000 soldiers to protect us from people coming into our country illegally. When I am back in the White House, I will immediately end the Biden border nightmare that traffickers are using to exploit vulnerable women and children. We will fully secure the border. I will wage war on the cartels just as I destroyed the ISIS caliphate, 100% gone, 100% destroyed. They'll come back now because we have a weak administration. I will use...
Remember, y'all, the numbers. Remember the numbers. Always when you listen in, play that in the back of your mind. They say, and I say they say because this is where I got the information from. They say this is a billion, like $100 billion industry. That is insane, sick to even think about.
Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries and without delay. And I will urge Congress to ensure that anyone caught trafficking children across our border receives the death penalty immediately. And that includes also for women, because women, as you know, are number one in trafficking. Children are actually number two. I want to thank Eduardo, Jim, Tim Ballard, and everyone else involved in this film for their incredible efforts and their great genius. Together, we will end the scourge of human trafficking, and we will defend the dignity of human life. Thank you very much.
As we continue, we are in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, with the 45th and possibly 47th President of the United States. Donald Trump is with us. You know, we had this whole issue of cocaine in the White House.
Yeah.
Okay. I could only imagine what the reaction would have been in the media and with others about this. And here's what bothers me about it. They had a 10-day investigation. They have cameras on every single person that walked into that area.
That's right.
They didn't interview a single person. And after 10 days, they declared the investigation is over. We don't know who did it. Now, what's your reaction to that?
So I know the area very well. It's very private, actually, in a true sense. And they probably have more cameras.
First, there was 3 different locations.
Yeah, well,
fair.
they don't even know what location. And they also said the Bidens weren't there, and they were there. It turned out to be, false. A lot of false reporting, a lot of misinformation. They dis and misinformation, right? Nobody's ever explained the difference, but let's assume they're pretty close. You have more cameras in that area than any place probably in the world. You have the Situation Room. The Situation Room, I never even thought of it in terms of this, but probably the most important room anywhere in the world. There's no more important. Wars are decided, nuclear's decided, weapons are decided. It's been there. There's nothing more important. They have cameras.
That's where you decided to take out Soleimani. That's where you decided to take out Baghdadi and associates. Right?
Defeat ISIS. Don't forget, we defeated ISIS. I was told it would take 3 to 4 years to defeat ISIS, and we probably couldn't do it. I did it in 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, right? And took out the worst. But the Situation Room is very heavily guarded. They know they know everything. The other thing, I have a great respect for Secret Service. I deal with them all the time. They are really incredible people. And Secret Service knows what's happening. They know what's happening. So I think it's very disappointing that after just a few days I was over. That's a big deal. Cocaine. Now, the cocaine, as they say, could have been worse. They could have gone to the bioweapons. They could have gone to a lot of other
Anthrax.
things. But cocaine's pretty bad.
That's what I was thinking. You know what I mean? If that type of substance was able to get in there, what other substance could have gotten in the house? So you mean to tell me? I just find that hard to believe, bro. I find that hard to believe. I mean, you can say what you want to say. Whoever is in the White House, that should never be possible. That should never be possible. And if it is, then you would normally. Did anybody lose their job? Have you heard of anybody losing their job yet? Just something seems very fishy to that. Just
the bioweapons. They could have gone to a lot of other
Anthrax.
things. But cocaine's pretty bad if somebody's taking cocaine and making decisions.
What if there was fentanyl in it? What if it was anthrax?
Well, it could have been a lot of
God
things.
forbid.
It could have been a lot of things. And they have cameras, and I would imagine it doesn't stop here. But Secret Service is so incredible. They don't get enough credit. And they're under the orders of other people. But I think Secret Service would be able to tell you the real answer. But you can't have a thing like that. The most embarrassing thing.
now that's the thing. It's gonna come out several years down the line. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna come out just like anything else. Once it dies down and years have passed and everybody's forgot about it and we talking about reminiscing back in history about things that have happened and this is brought up, people will start coming forth then when it's no longer costing them their job or whatever. They're allowed to speak about it. It's not really going to harm them. But right now, during this time, it's everybody's lips are sealed. Ain't nothing coming out of there. They don't want it to be used against them or anything.
For our country, we were respected. 3 years ago, this country was respected. And Putin knew he couldn't do it, and President Xi of China knew he couldn't do it. You know, I gave Iowa and farmers, the farm states, $28 billion from China. $28 billion. That's why I said, I go around. I don't want to be too boisterous on this because you never know, right? But I said, there's no way I can lose Iowa, Nebraska, any of these states. There's no way, because I gave the farmers $28 billion from China. No person, no president's ever gotten 10 cents from China. I got hundreds of billions of dollars, and I went to the Secretary of Agriculture. How much has, I think they obviously got a check. But thank you. I love you too, I will tell you that. But think of President Xi, central casting, brilliant guy. When I say he's brilliant, everyone says, oh, well, that's terrible. You call him. Well, he runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. Smart, brilliant, everything perfect. There's nobody in Hollywood like this guy. I got them to pay us $28 billion because they screwed our farmers for years. And I had the Secretary of Agriculture come up, and I said, give me a number. They said, it's $28 billion. Comes back a week later, it's $28 billion. I said, that's a lot. I said, well, we're going to take it from China. I got $28 billion for the farmers. Who got a check? Did everybody get a check? And I also made the USMCA. We had the worst trade deal that we ever made, NAFTA. You got killed on NAFTA. And I made it the best trade deal, the USMCA. That's Mexico and Canada. I got billions and billions of dollars from Japan and other countries that were taking advantage. You couldn't sell into Japan.
Did that money help pay for the wall?
Let me tell you what paid for the wall. What really helped? Mexico was, they all say Mexico. Mexico paid much more than what I was asking for because I had 28,000 soldiers on the border when I was building the wall. And we built almost 500 miles of wall. And our opponents, you know what they say? If there's a little rotted out 2x4 laying on the ground that's been there for 50 or 60 years, and they would say when we build a 30 and 40-foot wall, oh, that's just a renovation. That's not included. We built almost 500 miles of wall. We renovated a lot. Then I said, let's build another 200 miles because there were some areas that were weak. And it was all there, ready to be installed, and they didn't do it. But Mexico, I said to the president, you have to do me a favor. You have to do us a favor. We need 28,000 soldiers on the border, Mexican soldiers. He laughed at me. And I have a very good relationship with him. But he said...
So I want to go back. I want to go back and look at the numbers and see what it was like when he was doing that and employing all those soldiers, those 28,000 soldiers he keeps referencing to. I want to go back and see the numbers compared to today, what they were as far as the human trafficking situation goes, because to me, that's important. You know what I mean? If that was what was going on and he was able to slow it down tremendously, then where's the problem? Where's the problem? My main concern is that slowing that down and getting it to the point to where we can stop it. Stop it. We're talking about women and children. Remember, he said women was number one, children was number two, bro. That's my concern.
But why would we do that? Because they're coming in through Mexico. You have to stop them from coming in from Mexico. They're coming in caravans. He said, we can't do that. Then he had a representative come to see the State Department person. And the State Department person said, I've been doing this for years. We've always asked for a lot of different things like remain in Mexico. I got remain in Mexico passed. Nobody thought it was possible. All of the different catch and release. How about this? You catch a criminal and you release him into the United States, okay? I got catch and release. But I got this, and they said to me, we won't do it. We won't do it. They smiled. They laughed. They said, are you crazy? We wouldn't do this. I said, yes, you'll do it. Because if you don't do it, we're going to put a 25% tax on all of your cars coming in from Mexico, and you're going to do it. We're going to take in billions of dollars, and we'll do it ourselves. So Mexico gave us billions of dollars of free soldiers, free of charge. They came back into the room after saying, actually sort of laughing at me, how stupid a question this was. They said, you think we're not going to do that? I said, yes, you will. You'll do that. He said, we're not going to do that. And I said, well, we're putting a tariff on all of your products, including all the cars that you stole, because, they have 32% of our car business left from Mexico. I said, we're going to put a tariff, 25%. It's going to go higher, but 25%. Take in billions. He said, may I leave the room, please? Yes. He comes back 5 minutes later. We would be honored to give you 28,000 soldiers. So Mexico paid plenty.
Let me go back to the China issue. Think of all the incidents we had. The Chinese spy balloon that, went from the skies of Alaska down to Idaho, across to Montana.
Would have never happened.
Yeah, I know we have our theories about the whole spy balloon situation, right? That goes along with our UFO, UAP segment. You know what I mean? That's where we think about those spy balloons.
Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, out the coast, the East Coast. And I look at the communist Chinese now confronting our Navy ships in international waters, confronting our fighter jets in international airspace, on top of intellectual property theft, on top of COVID-19, on top of unfair trade practices, devaluation of the dollar, I believe attempts to eliminate the U.S. dollar as the world's currency.
That's right. They want to do that. They're working hard on it. That would be a disaster.
And now they've aligned with Russia and Iran. And now they're negotiating deals.
And North Korea.
And North Korea. Now they're negotiating deals between the Saudis and the Iranians and the Saudis and the Syrians. Now, I think China is taking advantage of a president that has abdicated his role as the most dominant, America being the most dominant force in the world. Would they have ever done that under you, and how would you have prevented it?
Number one, they wouldn't have done it. Number two, if they did it, I would have said, excuse me, we're going to put a 100% tariff on all of your goods that are coming into the United States. And they would have backed up immediately. You know, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. And as I said, not one president for many presidents ever took in anything. You know, they revered China. I don't know. I also explained, hey, we all love China. Let's love China. Let's respect the president. Let's respect everybody. But they took advantage of the United States, making hundreds of billions of dollars a year. We built their military because they made so much money. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China.
Do you think Taiwan is going to get invaded?
Well, I think they have no respect for Biden.
I do.
They have no respect whatsoever for him. It would have never happened. I met with Putin, and I said, listen, if you do this, really, really bad things are going to happen to Russia. And I don't want to say because I'm not going to get into that. But I said, really bad things? He said, no, 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 you would never do that. I said, yes, I would. And he said, no, I don't like that. But, you know, maybe he didn't believe it, but he believed it 5% or 10%, and that's all he needed. I said, bad things. Said the same thing to President Xi. I had a great relationship with, frankly, both of them. And, you know, having a good relationship with these guys, they're smart, tough, and they have a lot of nuclear weapons. Having a good relationship, I tried to explain this to the fake news, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. There has nobody's been rough on Russia like I have. I'm the one that ended Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 2 is the big pipeline going into Germany and all over Europe. I ended it. That's the worst thing that any president or anybody has ever done to Russia. I ended their pipeline, and the money that, and Putin said to me, how could you do that? I ended it. And Biden came in and he approved it. I put sanctions in. I gave the Javelins, which are anti-tank busters, I gave the Javelins to Ukraine. When they took out all those tanks, that was from Trump. You know what? Obama, you know, when they say, oh, Trump was good to Russia. I was the worst thing that ever happened. But I still got along with Putin, and he respected me. And I got along with Xi, and he respected our country. They no longer respect our country.
Okay. You have said very boldly you could end this Ukrainian-Russia war in 24 hours.
Yeah.
How?
So I know Zelensky very well because he was very honorable with the fake phone call, impeachment hoax #1. They said I made a phone call to him, and I was very threatening. I wasn't at all. I was actually very nice. I was congratulating him on a victory. But when they asked him, they said, were you threatened? He didn't even know what they were talking about. He was very honorable. He could have done grandstand and said, yeah, I felt threatened. I felt threatened. He didn't do that. And as you know, I get along very well with Putin. I would tell Putin, got to settle. I would tell Zelensky, you got to settle. I would tell one, you're going to load up with money. I'd tell the other, you're not going to get any money. I would get a settlement in 24 hours. Now, it should have never happened. You have thousands, hundreds of thousands of dead people right now, hundreds of thousands. You have cities that are obliterated. I don't know if you've ever seen the cities after they finish with the rockets. You have cities with no buildings standing. It looks like just a demolition zone. It's so horrible.
Sad.
And, you know, and then they'll say 2 people were hurt. No.
My only issue with that is, like, why do we have to wait for somebody to become president to get that deal done? If someone's saying they can get this thing done in 24 hours, then we need to be doing anything we can do to get that person to get that deal done in 24 hours, man. People are losing their lives over there. Like, that's my issue with that. If he can get it done, let's get it done. Let's figure out a way. If we can't, then that's somebody's own ego, and that's a problem to me. That's a problem. Forget everything else that's going on. You have somebody saying they can get it done in 24 hours. Let's figure it out. Let's get it done. That should be the main focal point there. Hearing him say that, now I want to hear everybody else chime in and say, okay, he said he can get this done. How do we get this done? How do we get him on the phone with whoever he needs to get on the phone with?
Hundreds of people and thousands of people were killed. You're going to find out when this whole thing is over that the number of people killed is far greater than they tell you. They're not telling you the truth. Many, many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are dying. These cities are being obliterated. And basically they say, what's your stance? Are you for Russia or are you for... I'm for one thing very simple. I want to stop people from getting killed, and I'll have it stopped.
That should be the #1 goal for both parties, period.
Yes.
Take a break. We'll come back. Up next. We'll talk about the 2024 primary. And one big question is the Biden family, with their business dealings with China and Russia and Romania and Ukraine and Kazakhstan and Mexico and a dozen other countries, are they compromised? More with Donald Trump on the other side, straight ahead.
The alleged abduction of an Alabama woman, Carly Russell, gets even stranger. Police reveal her Google searches in the days prior to her disappearance included things like max age for an Amber Alert and how to take money from register without being caught. I've never Googled that. And now the day spa where Russell worked announced that she's been fired for stealing toilet paper and a robe just hours before going missing. Let's bring in Fox News host Nancy Grace.
We should have all expected and knew that was going to come. That was probably one of the first, you know what I mean, things that was going to happen to her.
This might be the strangest thing I've ever seen. Nancy, what is going on? What do you think happened here?
Well, she's left behind a trail of Cheez-Its, an orange-headed man with a bald spot. I think right now we don't have to worry about the orange-headed man with the bald spot because police there in Hoover, Alabama have come out and publicly stated that there's no threat to the public. You know what? That's police talk for there never was a guy. They have used every synonym, every description they can except calling her a bald-faced liar. But all you have to do is look at the boyfriend. Remember that guy that was out front and center begging for her return, so upset trying to find Carly? Well, now he's taken every memory of her, not just his pleas for help, his distraught pleas, but every single picture of the two of them. Everyone has been scrubbed from his social media.
Really?
So between those two, I think we can deduce that there never was a kidnapper. And think about the story that she's following a tot, and I've watched that video 100 times. There's not a tot. There's not a little boy in a diaper. And she walks 600 yards following the tot boy. That is not in the video. I've watched it myself. It's all a lie and very calculated, the level of detail in this 911 call.
I said that in the last video. The fact that she was saying, you know, just so much detail. Didn't have on bottoms or whatever it was, no shoes, walking around, described that was a white baby. Like, it was so where she was sitting in the car. She didn't get out. Was there anybody around? What is the kid doing? He's just like, it was so descriptive. Like, this is bad if, and I say if because they still haven't made, the police still haven't came out and said they're charging her with anything or they found proof that it was a lie or whatever like that. So I still say if, but with the information giving you, let me tell you why another reason this is bad. What if they would have found somebody who fits the description of the dude she described that took her, and they ran up on somebody who fit his description and did some damage or even worse than that to that person? You know what I'm saying? When you make those types of claims, you better be telling the truth. So it's still up in the air. We're still waiting for more to be revealed, but everybody is starting to make their speculations as to what they believe is happening.
Oh, it's amazing.
So what would be the motivation? I'm trying to figure out, like, what could they possibly get from this?
Please, motivation. Look at her posts. Everybody wants to be loved. Really? Everyone wants someone to care about them. A desperate plea for attention. She has been fired from her upscale spa. That tells me they don't believe her. She's caught on video stealing a luxe robe and toilet paper, I guess, to get her through. I think right now they're going to be looking at any other posts, any other texts that were sent during her disappearance. And I guarantee you they're going to end up finding her shacked up in some hotel ordering room service. And remember, she's the one that made that call from the Red Roof Inn, dragging her family over to find her before she shows up on foot at home. Curb service from a kidnapper, that did not happen. Let me just tell everybody,
Curb
this
surface.
is a misdemeanor that's punishable up to a year behind bars and $6,000 fine. But think about all the real victims out there that were abducted, that were raped, that were sodomized, that were torn away from their family, many of them killed. What's the next jury going to think? Oh, are they just pulling a Carly?
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned the potential consequences. I was just about to ask you that. So she could face jail time. She's going to have to pay a fine if they catch her and charge her with this. And you're right. It's
Y'all let me know, how do y'all feel about that? Up to a year in jail and a fine. Do y'all think that's harsh, or you think that's not enough? Put that in the comment section.
the right thing to do, because
If that they find her guilty of telling and staging this whole incident.
of what the cops weren't able to do as they're checking out this really bizarre, crazy story from this really unstable
Can I tell you
woman.
one more thing about this? I've
Yeah.
had to work a lot of holidays, Thanksgiving, Easter, long nights, trying to work criminal cases. Imagine these cops out there at night searching, leaving their families and their children, their
Great
wives, their
point.
husbands at home to look for Carly.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point, and a good reminder to us of all the good work that our law enforcement does, even when people are lying. Love your show, Nancy. We want to make sure people watch your exclusive special, Left for Dead, The Case of Madison Brooks, which is available now on Fox Nation. Nancy, we love having you on. Come back.